Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast. My name is Devin, and this is part 2 of our Avengers Endgame podcast. And I guess there's not really a question, but you guys introduce yourselves.
My name is Riley.
My name's Jacob.
All right, so we're going to try to pick up exactly where we left off. The team was in their spots. They had their plans of how to get the stones and
Just
to
split up
bring
into
them
time.
back. Yeah, the time heist has begun. It's pretty cool.
What was the years? It was.
Oh, okay. So we...
Sorry.
Tony, Stevens, Scott, and Banner are all in New York 2012. Thor and Rocket are on Asgard 2013. And Rhodes and Nebula are on Morag 2014.
Also, Natasha and
Clint
thank you, Clint are also in 2014.
on Vormir.
I was just wondering, like myself, why didn't they just go all like 2012? Because all the stones still would have been there, right? Because there's later dates they were found there. And then I know I took it back a little bit because I know Star-Lord had to use all of his equipment, but even then.
Well, first of all, in 2012, the Reality Stone was not in Jane, meaning they'd have to find
Oh, that's true.
the temporal anomalies.
Oh, yeah. Because
they
like
have
that
to
was like Dark Elf stuff. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
And she accidentally found it because of the portals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
like complete, like, kind of accidentally.
It accepted her in, like there's you couldn't get in if you wanted to. She
It drug her in.
stumbled in, yes.
So,
And then the reason that they did the Soul Stone in 2014, in my mind anyway, is because technically the Soul Stone isn't there anymore. So the Soul Stone, once Thanos got it with Gamora, isn't there. So they had to go before that, and just to cut down on the amount of people needed, places and ships and such.
the thing that our Nebula says, though, she's like, we have to be careful, though, because we're not the only ones in 2014 looking for the Infinity Stones.
The old me is.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my goodness.
She really fumbles this bag, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Not on purpose, but like she.
Whoa.
They should have
It's not-
thought this through.
Whoa.
They should have thought this through.
It's not our Nebula's fault. It's obvious. It's past Nebula's fault.
If she wasn't there, there would have been a problem.
It's just straight up. They should have.
'Cause-
They should have, like, as time
The
progressed.
only thing I would
should
say
have
is
put
I would
locks and
have swapped I don't know, maybe this isn't the best decision, but maybe I would have swapped the positions of Rocket and Nebula
Yeah. But Nebula knew,
where Morag was.
yes, and where Thanos wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, technically she didn't have to be there, right? She didn't go to, like, they still found whatever the other Vormir.
Yeah.
They still found that without her.
Well,
She did
no,
need to be there because her hand was the one that reached into the
Well,
lasers.
and I thought she told him where Nebula told them where Vormir was.
Yes.
So why
Like she
couldn't they
punched
tell,
in the coordinates.
why can't she tell him where
I don't-
NORAD was?
Probably because I would imagine it's because like just like a helpful guide, and they didn't anticipate
They don't know space.
the intertwining,
Yeah.
the entanglement, if you will.
Oh, dude.
Okay, Jada.
So they get the Power Stone,
Yes.
and she like uses her like robotic hand to like reach in and just like grab it.
Which is really cool.
And it's kind of a cool scene between Rhodey and Nebula here, where Nebula's like, I didn't always used to be this way, and Rhodey's like, yeah, no, I get it.
Me neither.
We work with what we got, because he doesn't have his legs really. He has to his suit is what like keeps him walking and stuff.
I can't remember who stayed in 2012, 2018, 2019, whenever the...
Nobody. Everybody left.
Everybody left?
I think so.
Yeah, everybody jumped in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody left.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
Because no one calls them back. Their little wristwatch thing,
Right.
that's the thing that brings them back. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I just couldn't remember because I know that they all leave at the exact same time and they all come back at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If they come back.
time's funny that way, right?
Yes.
So Rhodes has the Power Stone.
Yes.
And he leaves. He transports out of there. But right as I forgot this too. Like I remember me and Riley were like, "Oh no," because like I forgot this little scene happened because they're so close every time. As she's about to transport out of there, her head starts to like the machine part of her head starts to malfunction, and she kind of like glitches out and has like a little seizure on the ground, and she knows immediately. She's like, "Oh no, this is like some nefarious things," and understandably, her first thought is she goes to Thanos, and she's right.
Well, she runs. I don't know if you noticed this. She runs to the pod and yells into like the comm. She goes, "Come in, Nat."
He's found us. He knows.
He knows. Thanos knows. Nobody hears it.
I don't know if I just imagine like either it's so frustrating because I imagine like nobody heard it or like it just didn't go through. But yeah, she gets beamed up.
And secondly, she has control of her body now. Why didn't she just?
Because she wanted to warn people.
I know, but she's being beamed up. And that time she could have.
I wonder if she didn't have control, right, as she was being beamed up.
I don't know.
Or if, like, she's just like.
Yeah, where it freezes you in the beam. But also, he has seen all of her memory files.
Right.
He now knows how to build the time machine, even if she wasn't there.
And more importantly, he knows where the stones are.
Yep.
So this really isn't good.
Well, he knows that they're gonna get him.
So yeah, we should make that distinction, right? This is 2014 past Thanos. This is a younger, more hungrier Thanos.
Thanos.
He was a bit older, a bit more experienced. And he thought he was he basically thought of himself as like a Messiah type character who was on this peaceful mission of like destiny.
I was thinking like more Crusader kind
of
situation.
And this
past one is like out for blood.
he is seeing that what he wants can be accomplished.
Right.
But
I succeeded.
So yeah,
in order to do so, there are other things that need to happen.
This makes him try even harder, right? Because like he saw he succeeded, so he's like, now I really got to do it. So
there's one issue.
Yep.
There are. Oh my goodness. Every group there's multiple issues.
We got a stone, but now past Thanos knows what the heroes are doing. Tony and Steve are after the Mind Stone.
Well, do we see the switch then?
Steve is after the Mind Stone.
The Nebula switch.
No, that's a little bit later.
Okay.
So
yeah, Tony and Steve. Well, it's the scepter, right?
Yeah. So Steve's after the scepter. Stoney and Lang are after the Power Stone. Or the Space Stone.
Yes.
The Tesseract.
Yeah.
And then the Hulk's after the Time Stone.
Yes.
Yes.
And they were.
They're so close.
They did good.
So the elevator scene is so great where Cap picks up the scepter and he goes, "Hail Hydra," and I was like, "Oh, that's so smart." Which is also a fun callback to the comics where like there's this alternate timeline where Captain America actually is part of Hydra. Which is not cool.
No.
Not progress.
Could you imagine those guys is like what they were thinking in that
Oh
thing?
yeah.
Like he's their number one enemy and all of a sudden he's like in the group like what?
It's like, hey guys, I know what you're talking about.
All right, pretty cool. We got Captain America on our side. So the past Tony, past Thor, they got down the elevator with the Tesseract, the Time Stone. And Alexander Pierce of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, he wants Loki, and he wants that case because, it belongs to the U.S. government or whatever. And Thor's like, no, he's going back to Asgard, and so is the Time Stone, and yada, yada. A little struggle ensues. While that's happening, Scott is crawling around inside of past Tony's...
Arc reactor. So this is before Iron Man 2, right? When he gets it fixed.
Yeah, he gets the
metal.
metal.
Iron Man 3 is when he gets it fixed.
The metal taken out.
So he gives him a heart attack.
Yep. And he falls to the ground. The case falls down, and then Ant-Man kicks it over to present Tony, who's like in a SWAT disguise type thing. I love how when past Tony falls, when past Tony falls to the ground, present Tony's like, "Hey, somebody give us some help." And he's just kind of standing around. So little man kicks over the Tesseract, and I love Loki. He's just kind of like,
Yeah,
He just
Loki
watches.
sees this whole thing.
he sees the Tesseract get kicked across the room. Tony picks it up, puts it in a box, and he's walking away. And
then
meanwhile, like, so most of the Avengers took the took the elevators down. The Hulk had to take the stairs, and like, so many stairs.
Stupid stairs.
He busts open the door.
Oh, he is angry, dude.
And
Smack.
Tony's still alive, which is crazy. Like, I'd probably be dead. The Tesseract.
Our Tony gets hit by the door. Tesseract goes flying out of the briefcase.
Conveniently, right to Tony's feet. Or no, Loki's
right
feet.
to Loki's feet.
Bye, Loki. He
Loki
picks it up
and spaces out of there, dude. Oh my goodness. That is a second issue.
Yeah. So the
Then we
they lost that stone.
The flippin' stone is gone.
Then they cut the cap.
Yeah. And this scene right here is like it's like some out of like fan fiction, like silly stuff, but it's so much fun. Present Cap has the scepter and then past Cap sees him and thinks he's an imposter.
He thinks he's
he
Loki.
thinks he's Loki because they lost Loki.
Yeah. And they has fight. And they like throw the shields at each other. They fall down. This big deal. Past Cap's like, how do you have a picture of Peggy? And then like they fight some more, and then like I love how Cap uses so much knowledge from the past. And
Dude,
yeah,
he's getting choked out. He's losing.
I could do this all day. It comes from the old Cap.
I know. Present Cap tells past Cap that Bucky's alive, and that stuns him like it did in the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And he uses the scepter on him and knocks him out. And
we get a quote back from Scott Lang that he said earlier, talking about America's
oh yeah,
booty.
that is America. Then we cut back to Banner, and he's talking to the Ancient One about how if she doesn't want to relinquish the stone because that could mean dire consequences for her timeline and a bunch of branch timelines.
Then
and he
why
goes,
did Stephen Strange do it?
He's like, what if we took the time stone and we put it back to where it was? And he's like, she goes, that still leaves my timeline defenseless. And yeah, he says, because Doctor Strange is supposed to be the best of us and he gave it up willingly, he must have had a plan.
I do like how they kind of trick you in a situation, because like it almost makes you think like she's like rethinking everything about Stephen Strange. Like,
oh yeah,
why would he give it away? And like she's about like, it looks like she's losing it, and then next thing you know, he comes flying back into Hulk's body.
Yeah, she throws the body at him.
Yeah.
And she hands it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So back to Thanos and his ship.
Can I say one thing? When she kicked Banner out of the body, in my head, because Banner and Hulk are two different people in one body, they should have split.
He got rid of.
Yeah, he's in control.
See, that's the thing,
at
right?
this moment.
I was thinking that like we were previously talking about in the other podcast. I was wondering, what if he was still just like Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Hulk took over. Would it just be this giant beast just floating around out there?
I would imagine so.
He's kind of eliminated the Hulk of the situation.
Yeah.
So back to Thanos on his ship. We find out that obviously that other nebula, her like tech stamp is from 9 years in the future. And he's on his quest for the Infinity Stones. And not good. Cut to Asgard. And it's tough, right? Because why would you bring Thor on this particular mission? But, who else knows Asgard as well as Thor?
Nobody's been there except for him.
Right. On the team. And so I've said it once and I'll say it again. I think the MCU is best when like they just kind of boil things down to very like simplistic everyday things. Like Thor here is kind of I love it when he runs into his mom And he's like, this is, he tells Rocket this is supposed to be the day that she dies. And she accidentally runs into him, and he's like, what? No, I'm not from the future. And she goes, and she like gives him a funny look, and he's like crying. He's like, I'm totally from the future.
Well, she also said like, I was raised by a witch's boy. You can't trick me.
Yeah. And they have like a little.
It's really sweet.
Oh yeah, they have a little talk, and it's
she gives him
when you're feeling down, just have like a talk with your mom.
She gives him the encouragement that he needs to know that what he's doing is the right thing, and it's all gonna be all right.
We all fail at who we're supposed to be. We succeed at being who we are.
So that's another thing is he was supposed to go there and like talk to Jane and be like, hey babe, so
give me the
this entire situation.
This is not the right Thor to do that.
No.
This whole situation is just mentally just destroying him. Because one, his ex-girlfriend who broke up with him is now there. His dead mom is also there. His home city or whatever you call it, realm that destroyed, he lost, is now back.
His dad's there.
His dad.
His brother's there.
Dear.
All of it.
And when they're sneaking through Asgard, they're sneaking apart through the prison section. We see Loki throwing the
ball.
Yeah. Cut back to Morag, and they
pick up.
I guess we kind of set that up already about the glitching and whatnot.
Did we talk about them actually getting the Reality Stone yet, or is that a little bit later?
Yeah, a little bit later.
Okay.
Back to 2012, New York. So they got 2 out of the 3 that they're supposed to be there for, and Scott's freaking out because he's like, "It's over. We have no more particles."
I love how defeated they look too. Like they're sitting in a broken car that's exploded, and they're just chilling, waiting for Cap to come back.
Yeah.
And who else but Tony? He figures it out. He tells Scott to take the 2 stones back to the present day, and Tony and Steve are going to go to the 1970s, where both Howard Stark and Hank Pym were at this military base
together
with Pym particles.
So
and that's where the Space Stone will be.
Yeah, they knew
that was given to Howard's
place. Both things would be, which is
because that was given to Howard after Captain America, I think.
Well, he found it in the ocean.
Right.
They found that, but not the ship. And I mean, if you rewatch Captain America, you see that it like melts its way through the steel while the ship's falling.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I also love how they just leave Ant-Man in the dust. They don't.
Oh yeah.
They don't tell him what's happening, where they're going. He goes, "We're doing our thing." He did disappear.
They just go home.
I love that. I love that line where I think Scott says, "If you guys screw this up, there's no coming back." And he's like, "Good talk, pissant." And he's like, "I love that." Or Tony's like, "Do you trust me?" And Cap goes, "I do." And there they go.
After everything too. That trust is still there.
He was like, "It's a rough estimate."
Yeah, he goes. He's like, "I have a vague idea of where." He goes, "How vague?"
I need something better than a rough estimate.
Yeah, Tony gets the stone, puts it in a briefcase, and as he's walking out, he runs into Howard, and Tony says, "My name's Howard Potts."
He's really bad at on the fly thinking, especially when it's his dad.
Yeah,
he's
dad,
very
who's had a rough relationship with.
Well, the last thing that he said to him was like, "I hate you" or something, and then he it was rough. Stopped talking.
Yeah, he regret that entire situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
so this is really like
they would drive and then meet the Winter Soldier. He's like, "Do you need to go out for some air or something like that?" And he goes, "Oh, don't forget your briefcase." I'm like, "Tony, you just almost forgot the briefcase."
Okay, question for you: if it melted through the steel in Captain America,
it was because it was being used.
It was just hot.
Yes. And I imagine they're using it right for the base.
I think it was just in storage.
It's being drained.
Currently, it was just in storage. I thought
because I don't think they started using it for energy until the Avenger movie. That's the first time they really talked about it, right?
Anyway,
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So
there are silly things in this movie.
Steve gets the particles.
Yes.
But he sees Peggy.
Yeah.
And you knew immediately. He was like, "Yeah, I'm coming back." Like you knew in that moment, like he was gonna come back. And so Tony and Steve get their particles, they get the stone, and they head back to the present day.
So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 6 stones now, right?
And we have one more.
Cut to past Nebula, beating up on present Nebula in Thanos' ship. Gamora watches, and then this is where the evil Nebula disguises herself by putting new Nebula or present day Nebulas, like, because she has like gold parts or something like on herself, and so old Nebula switches it out as a disguise. Which is really tough when the bad guys have good ideas.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's also sad because, like,
how she's just interchangeable.
Yeah, and she, like, there's nothing that she could do to say, "Hey, this isn't the real one," because.
Yeah.
But like, dude, if they brought in is it the DC where it's the bad universe?
Oh, like the negative Flash or something like that?
Oh.
Yeah. Like, if they did that, like, if that was a Marvel thing and they did that, they would have no idea. Like, there would be bad guys in the good guys, and they wouldn't know.
Right.
Because there's nothing it's different.
So then we're on the journey for the last stone with Clint, Natasha, and Vormir. They quite literally fight to decide who is going to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah.
I like that thing, too, where they're like, they're talking about who's going to sacrifice themselves. And Clint goes, I think we're talking about the different people here who's going to sacrifice.
They didn't even realize that's what they were supposed to do. They got there and were like, all right, well, we just got to climb down this,
they talked to Red Skull, yeah.
Okay, I'm a little mad about this situation, right? Because think about it. The Nebula in the movie before this, she figures it out. She goes, if she wasn't there and he came back to the Soul Stone, that means she's dead. Her soul was traded for the stone.
Uh-huh.
She forgot to mention that whole situation.
Well, no, Natasha brings it up. Natasha says when Thanos went with his daughter and came back without her. So Natasha's a smart girl. She puts it together.
So I think Natasha planned to be the one that got sacrificed the whole time.
Because Clint wasn't there for all this, right? So she planned on leaving him out of the dust.
Well, no, she told it to him. She tells this to him when they're up top on the cliff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like right there, but like before he goes to the planet.
But I think that's the reason that those two were chosen. They're the closest. They're basically brother and sister.
And this is why I think this one works.
Yes,
right.
But it's Loki
because neither one of them actually chucks the other off the cliff. They throw themselves off the cliff. And so that's why I think this works. That's how much they really do
care for each other.
Yeah, because they're kind of essentially like kind of a brother and sister. So Clint, oh man, it's so tough because like
it really is.
He shoots this line because like they both fall off, and he shoots this line.
She shoots it.
Yeah, does she shoot it?
Natasha shoots it and
attaches
it to him,
and it's on his hip, and he grabs her, and like, dude, the strain on his back, like to like hold her with like this thing around his hip, and she's just saying just to let go. Oh, it's so tough. And I imagine like as she finally slips, like, and he like the camera stays on him for a while, and he like looks back. I imagine that's like when she hit the ground
because he couldn't watch her die. It's
so tough. Stop making me feel things.
Bad. Like it's so good, but it's so sad.
Yeah, to witness his family die.
Yeah, grieve,
kill all the people that like remained and were still bad, and they got survived. And then he has to watch his best friend / basically sister die.
Yep.
Then he sits up with the Soul Stone.
Okay, so this is something I noticed. With Thanos, it was bright and sunny.
Yeah, it was a sunrise.
And with Clint, it's an eclipse.
It was like dusk, yeah, in an eclipse.
So it's like Clint's mind was saddened by the end of it, while Thanos was happy that he killed his daughter in order to get this stone, to see through
He's fulfilling his destiny.
Yes, while Clint was doing it as a mission.
Mm-hmm. So he didn't want to.
Right.
He wanted to
So
be
it's like that was a really cool like visual thing.
I never noticed that.
Where are we at here? So we all get back to Avengers compound, except for Natasha.
Poor Clint.
Yeah, and so they, Tony puts all the stones onto a glove he made, and then here comes the question: who's gonna snap? And Thor wants to immediately jump to do it because he's like, I want to be useful. I want to do something actually good, and it just hurts. It hurts so much because he's got like tears in his eyes because he wants to finally be useful, but he's just literally, physically and mentally just not ready.
Because they don't trust him, right? Like
to make the wrong wish, yeah. And
I don't know if it's that, but if as much as it is,
I don't think
he's
also
state.
I don't think he's physically sure
He physically
there either.
couldn't do it anymore
Well, he did take on a star.
That was a different Thor.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
be honest. Let's be honest.
That was like, 100 pounds ago.
Yeah.
That
was also just lost.
No, yeah,
brother.
no, that Thor could do it. I don't know if he was mentally there.
Yeah.
They still messed up the Titan too, so I don't know.
They Banner is like the radiation is mostly gamma, so I'm gonna do it. And this is another really cool callback to the first Avengers where Tony's telling Banner that like the Hulk saved him, and Banner's like, for what? And Tony's like, I guess we'll find out. Well, this is it.
That's the gamma radiation aspect. Mm-hmm. That much gamma still burnt him.
Oh yeah.
So that's a lot of gamma radiation.
Oh yeah.
Can we also talk about all these people, most of them at least, were around the gauntlet both times this went off? And it's covered an entire planet.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? How they're not irradiated as well?
Yeah.
So Tony puts the compound on like lockdown.
Yes.
So like all the shutters and everything
he does
closed.
barn door protocol.
Yeah. Barn door protocol. And like Thor like stands in front of Rocket to like shield him. Tony, dude, this mark, I can't remember which mark it is. This suit, I think it has that realistic more looking than Infinity War. It just looks so sick.
That was my only beef with that suit in Infinity War.
Yeah.
It didn't look real.
I agree,
this
but
one
it was so slick.
It was slick looking.
Like
I just think this one
velvety clothing.
I think this looks like an actual suit around him.
Absolutely.
He puts up a shield,
like a Wakandan
around Clint.
Yeah.
And Rhodey puts on his suit, and Banner puts on the glove, and immediately like just this like lightning just shoots up his arm and like on the side of his body, and it takes everything for him just to like put up his arm and do the snap, and it worked. But of course, while they're doing this, we have an imposter.
There's an Among Us. Sorry, I'll never. That was bad.
Past Nebula opens up the quantum portal to Thanos' entire army.
Yep.
This entire time, but they don't really know if it worked or not, though, right?
They don't know if
Scott
Snap
sees
worked.
like some birds outside,
a lot of birds.
And then Clint gets a call from his wife.
Yes.
And that's how they're like, oh, it worked. But then Thanos drops like nukes on the compound and like blows it up. Like
he dropped
shattered.
one. To begin with, it was one.
And it like blew. That was the other thing too. Are like people are like,
people-
how did Ant-Man survive? You can see him shrink like as the bomb explodes and like debris flies. You can see him like fly back and shrink at the same
I'm
time.
sure
I
it
need to
was
watch
it wasn't his idea to shrink, but it was probably like the suit's emergency
Instant,
protocol.
like it was a.
I bet you it was also just probably instinct, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yes,
him
yeah.
clinching up, and then like because his buttons are on his hands, he clinches. I bet you that's what happened.
And like isn't he like extremely durable, right? He's
Yeah,
more durable when he's
yeah.
small. So like that's how he survives.
Yeah.
But not to say that they weren't shaken up. Like everybody is.
That got messed up.
Yeah,
Quite-
Rocket is being crushed by a rock.
Yeah, let's
Rhodey-
go through that real quick.
So,
Yeah, they're both drowning.
wait, that's before this, or after this. So Rocket is being crushed by a rock.
Right.
Thor is holding up a huge slab above in
Hulk.
front of Hulk is that what I said?
Thor. I don't know where Thor is during this time.
Hulk is holding up a big slab.
Dude, he's a G because like his arm is like withered away and like he has like barely any strength and he's still holding this thing up.
Yeah. Rhodey.
Canopy.
He got out of the suit.
That was the thing, right, from an upgrade from, when he got stuck. If ever he was flying dead stick and like his suit wouldn't open because it was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put that protocol in there. So
it's really good.
It would open up for him again. Fortunately, he can't walk now.
Yeah. Yeah, so he gets out and he's like, he has to crawl because he's paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened. Rocket. Thor is up top still.
I think I think that's kind of where Tony and
Thor,
Cap
Tony,
are
and Cap
too.
were all up top.
And then Ant-Man gets the response from Rhodey.
So right then, all the water was rushing in, and they were starting to fill up with water.
Ant-Man, go. He's like hustling, dude. And the detail looks so good of like he's hopping on pencils and stuff.
He's just because there is no way down to them.
No.
Because they're under rocks, they're under rubble.
He has to go small man.
But an ant could do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally the only person that get to him.
Yeah.
So, and then the other guy, luckily, Clint finds the glove that has all the stones. Tony made his own like technology. It has like his signature red and his own glove.
Well, it's a nanotech because when
it grew.
Yeah, when it was originally made, it was like Tony size, but then it grew to Hulk size.
Hulk size. Dude, this scene is done very well.
The
The
animals.
this reminded me of. Have you remember that scene in Aliens, right, where they're like,
they drop the light stick,
and they see all of them just crawling towards them. Like that scene messed me up as a kid, but it reminded me of this so much. Where like, Clint's never seen these things before.
No,
well, you've seen a version, right? Like
no,
not from the Wakanda.
The Chitauri.
It's a form of Chitauri, right? It's like the same like breed or like. I don't know what you call it, species.
Kind of.
But, like, these are, like, the dog version of them.
Vicious.
Right?
Way more vicious.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like you said, I think either
there's the red light, too, that, like, it kind of... And, like, you could hear the growling and stuff. Yeah, and then he points the light, and there's, like, 100 of them in this tunnel running towards him. And, dude, he just books it. This is so cool, though. Like, he pins the arrows, and, like, it blows it up. He strings upwards, and he's, like, slicing them as he goes up this tunnel. And, like, he kind of got them all from the time being.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Then we go to Thanos, right? Walks out onto the...
Evil Nebula talks to past Thanos. And he's like, I'm going to sit here because I know what's coming. And he tells her, go give me the stones.
Yeah. Then doesn't he...
He just sits.
He sits. But that's like has always been his thing too in the Marvel thing. He's like, I'm gonna sit and wait.
Yeah.
Because he knows there's a fight coming.
It's scary. I mean, that's when the guy that you're supposed to be fighting is just waiting for you.
He's comfortable, man. He knows what's going on. He knows what this is about. Past Gamora on Thanos' ship then decides, because she was already thinking about this, which is cool, because in 2014, right, that Gamora in our own timeline was already considering the fact that, like, hey, should I be genociding all these planets? No, probably not.
I think she's always had that thought process, by the way.
Right.
From her own.
Her own family got killed. And, like, she already found Vormir, and she destroyed the map. Mm-hmm. And that was way before this.
So, whether she knew it or not, she was, like, against Thanos. Like, subconsciously, I guess. So, she helps present Nebula escape. And as evil Nebula finds Clint with the glove, present Nebula and
Gamora.
Past Gamora. I think I'm doing really good with this.
You are. I mean, it's really difficult.
They find evil Nebula.
Yes.
And she's like, Karen Gillan does a great job here. She's like terrified to even notion betraying Thanos. And
because Thanos is so overpowering, and
she points the gun at the past Gamora,
yeah,
and then present Nebula
shoots.
kills past Nebula and then Clint picks up the glove again and starts booking it.
Because he was going to give it to past Nebula. Because he's like, oh, I know you.
Oh, wait a minute. Because she goes like, Father, I had the stones. He's like, wait, what? So back on the ground. Yeah, this is the fight that I want to talk about for a bit. Dude, This is so much fun. This is the OG Avengers. One last fight.
This is the strongest Avengers minus Hulk.
Cap with
Iron Man,
a seasoned Captain America who knows how to fight with his shield back. Yeah, Tony with one of the most BA suits that you'll ever see.
And Thor with 2 hammers.
Yeah.
Or a hammer and
yeah,
an axe.
I guess we forgot about that. When we went into the past, that was a scene too that I thought was really good about how
after he talked to his mom.
Yeah, about like sadness and depression, and like of course people who are going with that are still worthy because he reaches out and he gets Mjolnir.
He goes, still worthy.
Yeah,
we graze over that part too. I just love within that when they're back at Asgard, Rocket's like being a little rat running around, like he's holding up like the syringe thing, like a little knife. He's gonna stab her in the back.
Yeah, and the guards call him a rabbit too. So I guess on Asgard, raccoons are rabbits.
I imagine that they're probably like giant rabbits on Asgard that do walk around or like run.
Have like a similarity to a raccoon.
In my head, that's probably what.
Well, also they know of Earth and stuff, so I'm sure they just heard of stories, but they don't know what they look like. So I'm assuming
that could also be it.
Anyways, back to the fight.
Small furry things are rabbits.
Thanos has a cool speech again. Where did that failure bring you? Back to me. And then Thanos tells him now, he's like, oh, you guys resisted my plan in your timeline? Okay, cool. So I'm just going to kill everybody instead of half.
Because he thought they'd be grateful.
It wasn't that. It was he was going to kill half again and make everybody forget that
Well, no, he was going to kill everybody.
He's going to be God. He's going to destroy everything and then recreate it.
And then bring back people who didn't know it.
Oh my! I didn't catch that.
And that's why. That's why. I think I can't remember which the Avengers says that they'll never know. And then he's like, and then I think Cap says, "So a new beginning, bathed in blood." And that's when Thanos says like they'll never know it because there'll be no one here to tell them. And boom, let's fight. Dude, the teamwork is so much fun. Thor hits the electricity in the back of Tony and like fires the laser at Thanos. And dude, his sword must be pretty cool because he just kind of like twirls it and like deflects the blast.
I don't know what his sword is made out of.
Cap's throwing the shield, and then impressive. Thor immediately swings for the head twice.
Yes. So I never noticed that. When you said he did, immediately he was going for the head.
Yeah. He's not making the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Really cool fight. But this is how incredibly strong Thanos is and how strong-willed he is because
Zero stones.
Tony gets kind of close range, and Thor throws Mjolnir, and like how smart Thanos is, he picks up Tony, and Mjolnir smacks right into Tony's head, knocking Tony out. Then he pushes Cap to the side, and then he's got Thor on the ground, and he grabs Stormbreaker because that doesn't have the spell on it like Mjolnir does, so he can manipulate Stormbreaker. And starts to shove it into Thanos' chest, kind of like Thor did to...
Thanos starts shoving into Thor's chest,
kind of like Thor did to Thanos in our timeline.
Yeah.
And then we see Mjolnir get lifted up, and it smacks into Thanos and gets pulled back. Dude, the theater went nuts when Cap picked up Mjolnir.
It was...
I swear he could do it the whole time.
For sure.
Ever since
when he tried in Age of Ultron,
he did it.
He totally could have.
I think he knew he could, and he was like, "This wouldn't be good for the team."
It would demoralize Thor.
Because Thor then goes, "I knew it the whole time."
And dude, he smacks the crap out of him. Like he uses the sound wave of the vibranium hitting the Mjolnir. It knocks Thanos to a knee.
That's when Thor
smacks him in the face.
Well, Thor runs in with...
And then he uses the lightning. I love how Cap uses the lightning, and then he realizes, he could do it, so he immediately does it again.
Yeah, Well, then doesn't Thor run in with Stormbreaker and like gets it up to his throat and is trying to cut his head off?
Probably.
And then Cap runs behind him, grabs onto the Stormbreaker as well, and is pulling all of this against Thanos' like one hand.
And then I think he knocks him away again, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He knocks away Thor and Cap again,
so
and then like
impressive.
he slices Cap's leg, and then just starts beating on the shield, and it breaks it in half essentially. Like it is, and I'm like, dang, what's that sword made of? And Caps is like kind of knocked to the ground, and this is also at the same time when Thanos is bringing in his army, and it's like a really big army.
it's not looking good because it's the 3 versus the mini.
And we get this dope scene, right?
Yeah, that image of Cap getting up and walking towards the army. You knew he was gonna fight alone. He was gonna do it alone. He knew he was gonna lose, but he was gonna do it alone.
He was prepared to die in order to try to help. And then we hear radio static over his earpiece, and it's like, Cap. And then you hear, Cap, come in. On your left. And then a Doctor Strange portal opens, dude.
I had a beef with this scene a little bit, you know.
Everybody shows up. Everybody.
I had a beef with the scene just a little bit because how long have they been doing this fighting? Clinton running through the sewers and whatnot since they did the snap. Like the birds instantly came back.
In my mind,
events could be happening at the same time.
Doctor Strange had to go to everybody and explain. It's been 5 years.
Also,
this has happened. This is about to happen.
He had to get a sorcerer right to each one of those places to open up a portal.
True, like he had Wong help him, right?
And also, these events could be happening at the same time. Like, as they were fighting, he was getting everybody prepared.
Yeah. Because the entire Wakandan army is there.
Everybody that got snapped away is here.
Oh, yeah.
Even Howard the Duck.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah, Tony sees Peter again, which is a sweet scene, and he's like, oh, hugs are nice.
Ant-Man explodes out from the ground with Rhodey and
Wasp is there. Everybody's there.
Did you know there's a giant debate who was going to walk through that portal first?
What do you mean?
Like, there's a giant debate because like that's the big opening, right? And like,
right. It was it was Shuri, T'Challa, and was it Okoye?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think those are the 3 that walked through first.
Yeah.
And then Sam flew through, and then everybody. And then I think Doctor Strange goes, "Is that everybody?" And Wong goes, "You wanted more?" Yeah, and then Cap goes, "Avengers assemble," and it's the charge, dude, between the two arms. Dude, it might be peak MCU right here. I encourage everybody to go watch it themselves, but there's so many details of this clash of the two armies that we can't cover this 45-minute battle.
Yeah. I do want to touch on a couple points. So we get to see the instant kill of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man is entire, like, was it last movie?
He's been telling it to turn it off, like, because he doesn't want to kill people.
So he finally, we get this huge, like, pass the gauntlet down, trying to get as far away from Thanos as possible. It goes from Black Panther to Spidey to Valkyrie, and then to the girls. We do get, like, a huge women empowerment scene. I think
forced.
I think it was too forced.
I do believe it was forced. Like, we've had other scenes like this in one before.
How does a parody in The Boys do it better than the actual serious scene?
Yeah.
I think we forgot to mention, though, Pepper shows up, too. And she's in that big old group.
Pepper shows up in the rescue suit. Mm-hmm. And her and Tony get this really cool, like, lovey-dovey scene where they're fighting together.
That was dope.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
But they do the pass-along. There's a girls' empowerment scene.
The ship is destroyed by Captain Marvel.
Yes. So that's another thing, is Thanos sees he's losing.
Because Wanda was like seconds from killing him.
And he goes, drop the
Rainfire.
Rainfire. Yeah. Rainfire.
Kills a lot of people, including his own people.
But Master, our troops. I don't care. I'm done.
I don't care. Do it. So shoots at the ground.
There's a dam that forms because of that. The
Yes.
Doctor Strange, which
Takes him
unfortunately
out of it.
it
the
kind of
entire-
takes Doctor Strange out of this fight, which kind of sucks.
That's my only beef with superhero movies, and they've done it every single movie.
every time. I mean,
They-
they
'cause
get powerful people and they pull them apart.
They have to take him out of the fight because it would be unfair, right?
Yeah.
Like think about like
Oh yeah,
Superman.
this is
movie.
why one of our boys dies in this one because he was getting way too strong.
Yeah.
So, Carol Danvers comes in from outer space and almost beats up Thanos. Thanos.
Dude, how Thanos has been fighting Thor, Cap, and
Even Wanda.
yeah,
And
even
Iron
Wanda,
Man.
and he's still going. Like this dude is a machine.
And only with Wanda has it been close because she has the power of the stones.
They're so close because all they got to do is throw the gauntlet into the portal,
Get it away.
and then Thanos throws his sword and destroys the van that has the portal in it, and then he puts on the glove, and then Captain Marvel runs in, gets headbutted at first, it does nothing, and then Thanos takes out the Power Stone in his other hand that's not covered and like punches her out of the movie.
She doesn't come back.
No,
I don't see her again.
And then Tony looks to
Doctor Strange.
and he puts up one, and you can see the scars on his hand, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I still love it.
I mean, this is the most sad, intense part of the movie.
In that moment, Tony realizes what he has to
There
do.
were there 400,000 possible futures, and this
million.
is however many.
There's a lot.
This is the one that is how it worked.
One mistake, and it's over.
Um,
But also, the scene also, like, we had the spare at the very beginning of the movie, right? We lost again. People are grieving. We have a chance again. We finally come back, and then we're right back to despair. He has the stones again. Everybody's basically defeated. We're like out of the fight. He's gonna snap again, and he gives us his
dude,
line.
Wouldn't that have been wild if he would have snapped and cut to black?
He goes, "I'm inevitable."
Because right before he died, in the very beginning of this movie, he goes, "I am inevitable. My reign is inevitable."
And
like,
then this past Thanos says it again.
and then snaps.
Well, okay, so I guess after the
yeah.
Captain Marvel thing, Tony runs up and
Grabs
puts his hand on the glove and then gets knocked away. And then Thanos goes, "I am inevitable," and then it cuts to Tony with all the stones, and he goes, "I am Iron Man." It would have been. I understand why they didn't do it, but if they would have played Iron Man at that would have been so cool.
Yeah.
Did you know
that's
that was
another-
improvised, by the way?
The Iron Man. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was originally supposed to say nothing, right?
Yeah, he's just supposed to look at him snap.
Which I think that is so cool because that's call back to the first movie.
Yeah.
He
I think,
snaps.
again, another thing, I just did not like Captain Marvel because
Oh, yeah.
she was so pompous, and then she got beat.
I thought it was a redemption arc for Thanos.
Also, if they added music to her like entrance, it'd be cool. Instead, it was like the slow.
Something's entering the atmosphere.
It's like the slow intro.
I understand
song
why
to
they
her.
didn't want to introduce anybody because it would make it more confusing. But I thought it would have been kind of sweet if like that's how they introduced Johnny Storm with the Fantastic Four, if him flying in that would have been, or like the Silver Surfer. I don't know. It would have been kind of cool.
They also kind of teased, was it Adam Warlock too, right?
Mhm.
So
He's coming. Don't worry.
because he wielded the gauntlet in the comics.
In the
I was
comics,
like, this is
yeah.
how it's gonna go.
So he snaps, and we know what it's done to Thanos, and we know what it's done to Banner. So we weren't
He's
thinking about it.
Purely human.
We didn't want to think about it. But yeah, Tony's half of his body is just like
Mango.
burnt to a crisp, and it's he's not long for this world.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I cried at this point.
Oh yeah, I got misty eyed several times in this movie.
Oh my god, yeah. Because like this whole thing, he's
He's
everybody.
he's the guy.
He's the guy.
Avenger.
Like we grew up with him, everything like that. He's the very first Avenger, right? Like movie.
When John Favreau doesn't make the first Iron Man, cast Robert Downey Jr., the rest of this doesn't happen.
No, but like everybody comes up to him. Rhodey comes up to him. Peter Parker comes up to him crying.
Yeah.
And
We did it, Mr. Stark.
Pepper says you can
see,
finally
that's
rest.
what got me, by the way.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't sad that he was dying. She's actually kind of relieved that he can finally rest and like Because earlier
we'll be okay. She tells him we'll be okay.
That's what got me. I was like, you serious?
Except she doesn't realize
what?
There's more to come.
Oh, true.
In the future. Yeah. So Tony Stark passes away.
Everybody on the battlefield is like in tears.
Yeah.
But
they cut out the scene where they all kneel for him, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they did though, because like if they would have had that plus this next funeral scene, I think it would have dragged a little long. Yeah. But yeah, everybody goes back to their lives. Dude, imagine going back to your normal life after this battle. Like we see Peter and Ned go back to high school. We
see they have to return.
We see Hope and Scott kind of chilling at their house. So Tony leaves one final message at his funeral, and it's so cute that he looks right at her and says, "I love you 3000" to Morgan. And we see everybody's at the funeral. Even Hank Pym, who hates Tony Stark, is at the funeral.
So even the kid from
Iron Man
3 was there, which is really cool.
Should have been him or Morgan, the next Iron Man.
Yeah. And then there was some random kid in the front. I don't know who that was.
Yeah, who's that? Is Peter was his name? I don't know.
I love that they used his first reactor from the very
proof
first
that
movie.
Tony Stark has a heart.
That's cute.
So yeah, the gist of that last speech is it's like, unfortunately, like sometimes in the end you have to make the sacrifice play to save the world and save the ones you care about. And I think that's kind of what being the hero is all about, is knowing when to do the sacrifice play.
So that's like, in the end, they both, him, Iron Man and Captain America, they did what the other one said they weren't.
All the way back in Avengers.
He said, Iron Man was just the guy who was not willing to make the sacrifice play, and Captain America was just the shield.
He was just, everything that's special about you came out of a bottle.
And
yeah,
in the end,
Cap lifted Mjolnir, proving that he was more than just.
He's truly a worthy man, and Iron Man made the sacrifice play.
Wild.
It's
perfect. It's a perfect ending.
Yes. If this is where the entire story ended.
To Phase 4, I think this is.
Yeah.
This is the ending of Phase 4.
If this was where the whole thing ended, I think that would still be good.
It's the perfect wrap up. Well, I guess we got a little bit more here.
Yes.
Thor leaves New Asgard, leaving Valkyrie in charge. There's a deleted scene of those two kissing here. I'm so glad they cut it because it's so weird.
Yeah.
Thor who?
Thor and Valkyrie.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty sure Valkyrie's not into guys.
Yeah. But he leaves with the Guardians, the Asgardians of the galaxy, back together again. Steve returns the stones, and Banner's like, he's supposed to be here, like, this second. He missed his point. And then Bucky knows immediately. He's like, oh, I know. He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
You don't just miss a time slot.
No. There's no way.
No.
And
you hit the button and you're back.
And Sam's freaking out. He's like, bring him back right now. Old man Cap.
How do you feel about him?
Well, Old Man Cap?
Yeah.
I'm sad.
I love Old Man Cap. It's super sad, but like I love Old Man Cap. He would be like the perfect guy to like sit down and have a beer with and talk about life.
He lived in the past. He lived in the future twice.
He had the ring on.
Like 200 years of life, there should be some stories.
Yeah. He has the ring on, and Sam asked, "Are you going to tell me about her?" No, I don't think I will.
I think I know why he didn't say that, right? Because I believe he did live out his life with Peggy, right? Mm-hmm. He lived under a different name. They couldn't say that he was Captain America, right?
Sure.
Trying to keep his identity. So I'm sure he couldn't admit that he still lived the entire life.
Sure.
Because then he knows things you couldn't say about, like in those timelines.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he had to ignore so much.
Yeah.
Steve gives the title of Captain America to Sam by giving him the shield. So we have the new Captain America.
Because like what you said, Bucky is a great soldier.
He's a perfect soldier, but he's not the perfect man.
Not the perfect man.
And like, yeah, for all those people who are like, Sam shouldn't be the new, I'm like, well, Captain America gave him the title, so he's the
Captain
new
America. Kind of chose him.
And then we end with the song playing in the background called "It's a Long, Long Time," which is a very pretty song of Steve and Peggy dancing, and cut to black, and that's. I remember in the theaters there was no after credit scene, but
they have a I mean, it's beautiful.
Their signatures,
Yes.
all the people that were the actors in every movie.
The very end, I think, when the credits finally end, you hear this like ting ting. It's when Tony was making the first Iron Man suit in the first movie. I think is what I remember in the theater. But yeah, that's Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
What would you rate it?
Oh, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10?
Both Infinity War and Endgame, 10 out of 10.
It is truly one of the most looked forward to, one of the most all-encompassing movies.
It's a perfect wrap-up of 10 years of storytelling.
Yeah. I give it a 10 out of 10 as well.
Yes, by far my favorite Avengers movie.
It is.
Even with 3 hours, I could watch this many times.
Yeah. I mean, look at all of the shows. The shows are 7 hours or 9 hours. If you watch episode to episode, I would watch hours of this this content.
Yeah. No, it's some folks' story wrapping up is perfect. Some people's still progressing. The action top notch. The CGI top notch.
Oh my
looked
goodness,
beautiful.
the CGI.
There was one I did have a problem is again with Ant-Man when they're first putting the suit together or whatnot, and they're talking about the hot tub time machine, all those movies, right? Right before they do the test.
We totally forgot about that, where he wastes one of the Fem particles.
Yes. But that CGI right there, when he's moving his head quite a bit, it didn't track very well. I was like,
Gotcha. Well, he goes, we got two round trips, one there, one back, and he goes, we got one round trip for everybody.
And
Yeah,
Clint
it
going
was
back.
like a test.
He was
Yeah.
a test guy.
Yeah, no, and there's it's not like there's still story to tell, which is good. I think they leave it open for more action to come, which is nice.
Yeah.
And no, it's pretty cool. It was a really fun theater experience too, of when Cap lifted Mjolnir and when the final battle happened, dude, the cheers in the theater were crazy.
I feel like that would have been cool, but I'm kind of glad I didn't experience that because when I'm in the theaters, I kind of just want to be there. I don't want the crazy noise and stuff, so I don't want to miss anything. But I love it when the theaters do crack up, everybody's laughing in there. I heard a lot of sniffles in that theater.
Oh yeah,
it was rough.
that was the other thing too. Yeah, the humor, especially from Tony Stark.
I loved it.
All of his jokes land all the time.
That's why I feel like it was also even that more sad to me because all of his jokes that slap, they're gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There is truly a empty spot.
Oh yeah. 2
in the universe
3.
now.
Natasha,
Cap,
Steve
and Tony.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but on Twitter,
Oh boy.
Yes, I
Robert
did.
Downey Jr. said he would be willing to show up in another movie.
He didn't say it. He posted a photo of Deadpool with them bringing back
That's what
Wolverine.
it
He goes,
was.
"Oh, it's kind of crazy to bringing back a character. That'd be kind of crazy." You just hinting.
Don't
that
do that.
But
Don't give me hope.
within
Dude, if he does the worst timeline or the most arrogant
Oh,
Tony Stark,
the superior Iron Man.
how, dude, with the quantum the multiverse, the quantum, how crazy would that be?
I saw it was a Joe Rogan experience that had Robert Downey Jr. on, and Joe Rogan goes, "Yeah, maybe if they have a few lackluster Avenger movies, and they're in this last one where the bad guy is about to kill everybody, and then out pops a portal, and then comes through Iron Man to save." And I'm like, and then that's what RDJ said. He's like, it would have to be really good for me to come back.
you know why they did leave, right?
Well,
Is it-
their
their contracts.
contracts were out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which I don't blame them.
And
right?
they wanted to do other things, which I understand.
My only thing is I don't like it is because there's so many more stories that involve those characters.
You have to be in it for and I mean they were in
Well,
it.
yeah.
They
I was
were in
gonna
it for
say,
10 years.
Somebody had said that with the contract that they signed, they can't do other movies. They can't do any stunts themselves. Other stuff.
Promotional stuff has to be for.
They can't do
yeah.
indie films. They can't do all this other because they are that character until that character dies.
Well, I guess.
I feel like
What-
they did do a couple movies on
What
their own,
did
though.
I can't remember who it was,
Extraction?
but-
There was a movie with Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
I think there was that movie.
There's Dr. Doolittle. Right?
It's not very often.
Yes.
No, I think that was right after Endgame.
Right after.
Yeah.
It's not very often if they do. But yeah, no, this is I don't know what else to say besides it's a perfect story.
I like you're emotionally involved. Plus, I do love the callbacks, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, I remember I just like earlier I mentioned I don't like when shows do it like consistently because like they're not making new jokes at a point. But like this was like the perfect wrap up. They're doing like all the stuff like you guys talked about the bottle and like making the sacrifice play. The on your left. There's like I watched a video here recently. I'll send it. I'll try to look it for you guys. But like they showed every single reference, like little even like minute sayings they said. It's great.
It's perfect.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, this has been the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you next time.